Okay. Let's see. I should really go to the dashboard to see if. Oh, I guess it says we're live, and my girlfriend is going out my back door, and I just got a notification. That's the terrible thing about like Wi-Fi cameras, is that I gotta disable the notifications because those things go off at the most inopportune times. But anyway, welcome everyone to a little bit of a janky edition of the 4GwQPodcast podcast. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so I think Assassin is appearing off cam for maybe the first time ever in the existence of the show.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time, but anyway, this is episode 178 for August 9th, 2018. We are officially live now that I can see us on the dashboard. If you're rolling in, sorry we're starting a little bit late, but it looks like we're going to have some audio from these guys. No video this week, but on the plus side, Assassin's voice actually sounds a little bit better over Xbox Live Party Chat. So, Assassin, you want to say your usual phrase, and the listeners can see if it sounds better or not, or
up.
Oh. Anyway, all right. It actually does
change it up when
Huh?
we're on Discord. I say hi. When I'm on Xbox, will be a sup.
Got it. Last but not least, we got Italian Clowns. What's going on, bud?
What's up?
And Clown sounds nice and crisp as well. Gotta give it to Microsoft.
I was trying to copy Assassin, man.
Yep. Oh, I know. I know.
Do it over.
He's not doing it over.
What's up?
Oh, he is doing it over. Wow. Okay.
No, not good enough. Over again.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, get up, kid.
That's right.
Okay, now let's continue on with the podcast.
Okay. All right. We'll do. We'll do. All right. Well, this week we've got a few topics here. First and foremost, of course, the Black Ops 4 beta went live last week. Last weekend we played the hell out of it on PlayStation 4. We'll discuss that, of course. We're anxiously awaiting for it to go back live on both PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and I guess PC is going to get into the mix this weekend as well. We'll talk about that for a little bit. We'll talk about Battlefield 1 updating our thoughts about the 4K patch that we talked about last week during the podcast. So there's been some new developments on that, so we'll get into that a little bit. Talk about the Red Dead Redemption gameplay trailer that was shown today. Looked pretty good, graphically at least. We'll talk about what we like, dislike, all that kind of stuff. The PlayStation 4 is looking like it's getting a special edition, 500 million sold edition. And now when I first saw that headline, I thought it meant 500 million PlayStation 4 sold. And I was like, first of all, that's impossible. Second of all, that's highly inflated. So it's 500 million PlayStation family devices sold. So that includes like PSVR, PS TV, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, all that stuff. So congratulations to Sony on that. They're putting out a special edition PS4, and we'll talk about that. And of course, we'll get into a little bit of what Nintendo has been doing about the emulation scene. Been shutting down some of the big emulator sites, Emu Paradise being one of them. Not necessarily shut down, but essentially threatened to the point where, that site has completely changed their practice of business, if you will. And you can't download games there anymore. So looks like Nintendo is starting to crack the whip, so to speak. But all right, enough of this. Let's get into the actual topics. First, Inner Circle Network. We are one of their affiliates. We appreciate them affiliating us. A bunch of cool podcasts over there. So look in the description below on YouTube to see the link for the Inner Circle Gaming Network website. So I realized that I did not put a tweet out that we are live. So let me do that really quick. But to get us kind of going, let me bring up this Call of Duty Black Ops slide and let Assassin kind of start us off here, being the resident Call of Duty-ologist, if you will. So this weekend, we're going to get another crack at the beta on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Last weekend, it was just PS4, as many of you probably know. And Assassin, why don't you give us your initial thoughts on this?
Well, first off, I think the beta went, pretty well. It's none of that. I think it was Black Ops 3 where like the matchmaking was awful. No one got to play a match for like the first day or two. Happened on PS4 and Xbox, and I don't even know if PC had a beta at the time. But overall, I thought that was pretty nice that they let us download the game a day ahead if you digitally pre-ordered or your friend got a code. And then that just made the launch smooth. Now I've been running it on a PS4 Pro, so a lot of people on the normal PS4 said it was not running at a good 60. It was more like 50 to 30 frames per second. So I've seen accounts in 60. So I thought that the game ran smooth. The gunplay was nice. The sounds were good. Everything, all the guns I felt were unique compared to previous CODs.
Yep.
The SMGs I thought were, especially the MX9, were a bit overpowered. The kill streaks needed a buff, which they're getting for tomorrow, which is nice.
I thought the kill streaks were not to butt in, but I thought the kill streaks were like extremely difficult to get. Like I don't know, like I'm used to at least getting like not just a UAV, but sometimes an airstrike, and I feel like that was like a rarity. Like I valued the airstrike stuff so much more in this game because it's like it took so much to get there.
I felt at the beginning it was hard to get any type of kill streak, especially the UAV, which is pretty much the lowest kill streak I believe in the game that we have at least access to. But I think over the course of learning of how the points work, it was very easy to earn said kill streaks. At least for me. I mean, I ran pretty low.
Wow.
UAV
So basically,
no,
I get it. So basically, what you're saying is, fuck yourself. You're terrible, essentially.
No, like so you play, you figure out like what how you get points. So like for me, like before Clowns and was joining us, or when Clowns was joining us, I would use Crash or whatever his name was, where you drop ammo pack. Everyone who picks it up, you get extra points. When you pick those rounds up, you get extra points towards your kills, so you can earn kill streaks faster. You use your super ability. You heal everyone, you get 200 points if everyone gets healed. Like just using things to your advantage, like that can earn you kill streaks pretty fast, especially the lower ones. So yeah, get good in front of. Just kidding. Speaking of special test abilities, I can't stand them. They're free kills essentially. And Fernand might say something different, but it's pathetic that someone could sit in their spawn, be AFK for like half the match, and get a grenade launcher or a Tempest and just go on a 10 kill streak.
You know what?
Nothing. So.
You know what? Man, you're right. I'm gonna disagree with that. I think it's not like you get it all match. Now maybe they'll nerf it, and I know during the live stream today, and they definitely talked about adjusting the specialist streak abilities, and I mean I know that diehard fans are probably pissed about the fact that, like you say, free kills, quote unquote. But for me, like, I think it was fine, not only because I was doing well with them, but also because I feel like the specialist streaks are there to, maybe somebody's having a bad round, they can turn it around by using a specialist streak. Some of them, like that one where you can just give off radiation through a friggin' wall. Like, I'm not cool with that. Like, I think that's a little overpowered, especially I can see on like hardpoint or domination playlists where that could be abused. But I don't know. I don't know. I think there's gonna be a little more strategy in avoiding those things, but at the same time, I see where people are coming from, and I know why people are pissed about getting owned, so to speak, by somebody that is of lesser gun skill, quote unquote. And I think it's all right because I think it adds something interesting to the game that's different than just a usual shooter and different than what I've expected out of CoD. Like, yeah, we had that a little bit in Black Ops 3, but I just think that in this one, and this may be a negative and a positive, it's definitely a negative for you, but it's a positive for me, is that it can change the flow of how you're playing, like mid-match. It can change the flow of how your opponent is playing mid-match, so you have to kind of always be on your toes, but at the same time, if you're having a terrible, terrible match, you can turn it around real quick and then get some of that momentum going,
Yeah, well, I think the more annoying things are, like, not the left and right bumper, it's more like the right bumper. So, like, the Tempest, he has the drone that seeks one player out and stuns them. And if you don't, like, push square, like, immediately, you're stuck there for, like, 6 seconds, just tased. And everyone knows you're tased, and they can just kill you. Or, I forget what his name is. He's one of the newer guys. But he has that 9 banger. You just charge it up. It takes like no time to charge, and you're stuck there with your hand up to your face. You can't do anything. The flash is super long, and it comes back super quick, and you can just die. Or the guy with the radar like abilities. You push right bumper, it sends out that radar ping thing. That people can shoot it, but you put it on the other side of the wall where no one can shoot it, and they can see you perfectly on the mini map. Same thing, like, getting kind of away from the specialists a little bit. The fog of war, like, you have such a huge, radius around you. If someone comes up behind you, you're pinged. Someone's in front of you, you get pinged. Left and right, you're pinged. You can't sneak up behind someone because everyone will know you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just stupid that they're, if you do good, you're getting punished by these stupid little radar pings that you can't really do anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's, at least for now, there's no, I mean, you can run engineer, but that doesn't, counteract your getting pinged on the minimap. It's stupid. It's rewarding, people who will just sit back or even terrible players, and they get pinged.
Yeah, maybe what they need to do to counteract this is they need to have maps with more, I don't want to say lanes, but like, that I think the intent on that was to kind of encourage people to be strategic on which way they were going to attack the other team or attack certain, objective points, be it on like hard point control, search, whatever. And I feel like that was the whole point of it. But at the same time, people are this is Call of Duty we're talking about. People are quickly gonna figure out a way to abuse that and to put it in spots that are extremely overpowered. And this is why, they say they've been developing the game for 3 years. Like, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, the other one's escaping me right now, Infinity Ward. Like, they're on this cycle, and when it's their turn, they put out a game that they claim they've been working on for multiple years. But at the same time, they design these maps, and I feel like they don't get the testing they need with all of the abilities of all the characters, especially when you throw in the specialist dynamic. It's easy in World War II when there are no specialists, there's no frills, and, it's traditional, boots on the ground, what everyone wanted. And now, we're getting this little bit of flair with the specialists, and you gotta test for that. You can't just build maps, that will work on a regular Call of Duty. You gotta test out, especially like the radar pings and the 9 bangs and the shock drones, like stuff that can pin you easily. You need ways to get out of that, and you need ways to approach in different directions.
Yeah, someone posted, I think it was on Reddit, and it got some attention for like the fog of war. Like, in stealth games, the enemies always have like a cone for their sight. Like, they have just a little bit around them, and then they just have like kind of like a flashlight cone. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah, of course,
implement something like that, because right now it's a full 360 around you, and it's super far. Like, it's about the size of like the radar ping that the guy has that for his right bumper. and it's too much. You go behind someone, they see it on the minimap, everyone just turns around and you're done. And it's like you couldn't do anything about it. You can't counteract it. You can't, unless you have the shield or fist of panic as ruin.
Yeah, the fog of war being behind you is, I think the fog of war being behind you is okay for certain things, but the way the fog of war works now is, like you're saying, is too revealing, and seeing things that are behind you that were there when you cross them is different than seeing things behind you when you're just like, sitting at a choke point or whatever. Like if something approaches from behind you, yeah, you can hear it. That's why you have good pairs of headphones. That's why people play these shooters with, Astros, with, high quality headphones, some of the higher Turtle Beaches, Sennheisers, whatever. That's the point of that. Like, don't build that into the game to give people a visual representation of that when, you're supposed to, that's like a skill list, indicator. You know what I mean? It's like it's so easy to just keep looking at the minimap and see someone coming up behind you, and some of these abilities and some of people's strategies, especially on like search and destroy or gameplay modes where you only have one life. I think you can't have Fog of War act the same as maybe it acts in TDM. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't help there's a perk. It's one of the first ones you have. I don't even think you have to unlock it except, hit level 5 to create a class that extends the Fog of War, not just for you, but for your entire team. Like, obviously, if you don't run Inferno, you're not going to get the benefits, but it extends it for me from what you're looking at, and I think that's just stupid.
Right. Yeah. Clouds, you got anything to add to? I know you played a little bit of it.
Well, as a hardcore Call of Duty fan, playing since the arcade days, Call of Duty 2, I will say that I think these specialists need stronger abilities, like the guy with the shock drone. I wish it lasted longer, and I wish it was actually fatal instead of just stunning. Also, it would be great if they added the ability to shoot like a poison dart that slowly takes away stamina as well, until that guy gets killed. I think they should add stuff like that. They need anything more outside the box, but I do like this game. I like Black Ops 3 a little bit better, but so far I am liking this. I like the new modes like Control. I thought that was a lot of fun. I think the shield is great because it reminds me of Black Ops 2. And bringing back the RCXD is neat. I like that. So I mean, I think this game has a lot of potential. We've just seen the beginning of it, and I think it's going to get a lot better over the course of the next year.
Oh yeah. I think this game has massive potential. I think not only we've been talking about the balancing a little bit, and of course, me and Assassin disagree a little bit in the balancing, but I think this game has a lot of balancing potential. They can get this just right if they can dial it in quickly. It has a lot of map potential. It has a lot of game mode potential because they're going totally out of the box on this. Ditching the single player, like Clowns mentioned, the control mode, if you guys aren't familiar with that. It's a new game mode that's kind of like a little bit like Domination, but a little bit like Hardpoint. It's got a little mix of both. You got 30 lives. You got a certain time limit. You got to capture 2 spots or eliminate the other team's lives or tickets, if you're familiar with Battlefield 1, or so you have to be careful because you can use all your team's lives, or you gotta be careful if you decide to spawn in when somebody's using a score streak and stuff like that. So Control, I think, is an awesome addition to the franchise, and I think Clowns is right. I think the ability of this COD to grow and to get better with the risks they've kind of taken with new game modes. I mean, they just announced that game mode Assassin. I think you can probably tell us more about it, but that game mode Heist today from the live stream, I mean, that sounds cool. That's like nothing that's been in Call of Duty before. Can you give like a quick synopsis on that, Assassin, really quick?
So the game essentially, or the game mode essentially is, you can only pick your specialist. You don't get to create a class. You start pretty much from nothing. Ammo and health is like later on the map. and the objective is to grab this big cache that is neutral, so like the enemy team can grab it, or your team can grab it, and your objective is to put it on the plane or the helicopter and have it fly away. But the point, like if you shoot someone, you start earning money, or if you win, you earn money, which then you can buy like your abilities, your guns, your just your equipment in general. And it seems interesting how that will play out.
Well, we'll find out this weekend, right? Because it's in this weekend's beta, or is it not?
I think the new map, I think mode might launch Saturday, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a cool thing that they do with their betas is that, you get the game, they give you a level cap. Like last weekend, the level cap was 25 on the first day, and then they'll update it, put in a new game mode. Like they put in kill confirmed, they put in search and destroy. They put it out in waves a little bit, so you don't get too burnt out on playing like the same mode. It's not like a beta where you get it. It's just straight up TDM, and then you get burnt out in TDM over the 3 days. Like they give you new stuff to try, and especially with these new game modes that they're trying to introduce, Control, Heist, and others, Blackout coming in September. In that beta, they're giving us betas. They're giving us a lot of betas, but it's a lot of variation. It's not like Sea of Thieves where you got the same thing in playtests like over and over and over and over, and people got burnt out over playing the same old stuff. So I like that. I like that. I think that's a cool way to do it. But so
and the MX9 needs a buff. If all the other guns get a buff. The MX9 needs
Not
a
all
buff,
the guns
plus,
are getting a buff. Just the
AR
ARs,
and
the
the
LMG.
LMG.
LMG is
So
the worst gun in the entire game.
But the Assassin, hear me out. The MX9 needs rapid fire, extended mags, and a buff all at the same time, so I can run with that gun
the MX9
nonstop.
has rapid fire. There's a gun. There's a gun in the beta that has rapid fire ×3 as an attachment. Like that is, and it has like 50 rounds, and you go through the rounds in like a second. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we need another gun with more rapid fires.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to also, what I would like for Treyarch to do is bring back the Infinity Ward infamous noob tubes, where they were just so abundant and massively overused back in the day. Except this time, since we're in the future, make it like a homing missile so that it never misses its target once it's locked on. That would be epic, and we should start a petition for that and see if Daz can help promote it.
Well, first off, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
Wow,
Secondly,
wow,
there's this thing called a rocket launcher, and there's an attachment called Danger Close on it. And it's already
Does
overpowered.
it lock on? If it doesn't
it
lock
locks
on,
the score streaks.
Well, no, that doesn't count. I mean,
yeah, but if you hit someone
say,
like 2 yards away, it's gonna kill them.
No, but let's say this.
Close.
So let's say you're sitting in the back of the map, just picking up kills and kill thiefing, because you always hide incognito,
technically there's no kill thiefing in this game. So continue.
Well, yeah, you got a point. But somebody sees you in the back, getting all these kills, and I'm gonna use this homing noob tube and hit assassin with it. Lock on, shoot the trigger, and kill you. I mean, that's what we need.
And that would be extremely stupid.
OP, and I would like it. I think I'm going to start a petition.
You're the only one who probably likes homing rockets, because you just had to sit there and let the game do all the work for you.
Wasn't something like that in a Call of Duty before?
Battlefront 1.
I know it wasn't I know it wasn't Battlefront. Oh yeah, no, I know that. I know that. I know that all too well.
I don't think a Call of Duty's ever had a person lock-on launcher.
Yeah, I think it would be good, because in Battlefront 1, when I played with you guys and Assassin was the other team, I kept getting so many kills on him with that homing rocket. It was so great, and I missed that feeling of using the, I miss that feeling. And if we're in the future, I mean, let's face it, real life, they probably, so we need it in the game.
Speaking of that a little bit, I think
and we can just have fun.
I think it's a little weird that Black Ops 3 had running on walls and boost jumping and all that. Now this is supposed to be a sequel. Oh well, I guess it's a prequel technically, but
it's a prequel. It's a pre-sequel, I guess. It's between 2 and 3.
Right.
not to take Borderlands name away,
Yeah,
but,
right. Yeah. Pre-sequel. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'll give you that. But even so, like, the only thing that makes it in terms of abilities, like less technologically advanced than Black Ops 3 is the boost jumping and that stuff. Like, I feel like some of the other stuff that's been added to the game, like, you know, the shock drone and all that stuff, like, I feel like that's essentially on the same technological advancement level as Black Ops 3. So it's like, okay, now we're doing a prequel, and you know, like it's almost like oh man, it's almost like Star Wars a little bit, like Star Wars 4 through 6, because they were made so long ago, are like so inferior to like the technology and the lightsaber battles and stuff of Star Wars 7, and also so inferior at the same time to Star Wars 3. You know what I mean? It's like you have a technologically advanced game, and then you have a not, and then you have a technologically or a movie, and then a not, and then you have a technologically advanced movie. I feel like it's just weird to me that you get like pre-sequel too, like Borderlands pre-sequel, like the technology in pre-sequel was better than the technology of Borderlands 2, even though it was a prequel. You know, I don't know where these people like make the decisions.
I get what you're saying, but there's certain things in the game like that were like a lot better in Black Ops 3. So like batteries, grenade launcher used to impact, or Tempest's gun used to insta kill and chain, and now it, you know, downs you and
I see.
You know, it bounces off, you know, people, and then it blows up.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
things like that, or I forget his name, but he has that giant shield that uses that microwaving technology. Like,
right.
Well, I guess that doesn't count because Black Ops 2 had a smaller version of that, but same thing with 3. But
right, all right, that's a good point.
You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I know what you're getting at. No, that's an excellent point, actually. I didn't think of that.
And then the what is it? The RCXD, like in Black Ops 3, used to hover. This one is.
This one doesn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
But it can jump, so it's fancier than Black Ops 2, but it's not as fancy.
Right. Wow, bravo. Yeah, those are actually some good points. Yeah. Okay. All right. Like, I think the leap from the Tempest having the chaining and downing, or the downing versus killing with the Tempest gun, like that leap is like, I think it's kind of weird that in Black Ops, so Black Ops 4 is supposed to take place before Black Ops 3, so like we can't have like running on walls. You know, I don't know.
Maybe the technology wasn't there. I mean, obviously they didn't want to have, you know, running on walls and boost jumping in their game. So
well, I guess
it makes sense to have it a prequel.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, because now that I think of it, as I'm making this argument, I'm like talking myself out of it, because the wall running, I guess, technically did involve the boost jumping to a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So forget everything I just said. Assassin's right. I am absolutely wrong on that. But nonetheless, I think you know, and I think it was a good showing. I think it was a good showing, and I know a lot of people are complaining about the time to kill. They're obviously addressing that because so many people bitched. If you watched the live stream today from Activision, you saw that they're changing the time to kill for the assault rifles and the LMGs, which they should have, because the SMGs was too strong.
Well, I don't think any guns on the, well, maybe the LMG, but not the ARs. I don't think they're getting a damage boost. I think they're more getting like an ADS, you know, time buff and a strafing buff, you know, things that don't make, you know, all the guns automatic nukes, or, you know,
yeah,
along those lines.
No, but those things increase time to kill. You know what I mean? Like, you're saying an ADS boost, like, so you're saying, like, what is it called? The perk that lets you look down the sight faster. What's the name of the perk again? I'm blanking.
I forget, but, like, I get what you're saying. I guess I'm just taking it the way of, You know, the
damage.
moment you put one bullet into someone until the time you kill them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking, like, when I think of time to kill, I guess, I guess, like, technically when they measure that, you know, like these fancy YouTubers that have slow-mo cams and they, like, measure that versus, like, what, because I think at the time, like, didn't the Call of Duty games kind of, like, tell you that a little bit? Not necessarily, like, the exact time to kill, but wasn't there, like, some sort of indicator about that? Like, not necessarily just, like, damage, but... Or was it always damage and fire rate?
I think in the I know in the kill cams, like, it just kind of showed you how many bullets you took, but other than that...
Oh, okay.
I don't think they've done really anything. Just more off of feel.
Yeah, well, I know, like, these fancy YouTubers, like, will take the slow-mo cams and see how long it takes to kill someone, and they do kind of start with what you just said, with that first bullet. But for me, like, when I think of time to kill, I'm thinking about when I'm running, how long it takes me to, like, raise the scope, get on a target, and all that stuff. You know, I'm factoring that in a little bit, because, like, if you have a gun that's super slow to look down the ADS, I mean, what's the point if it takes you out in 3 bullets if, you know, it takes 3 times as long to look down the sight? Like, you're already down a couple bullets at that point, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, they're addressing those problems, because I think if I were to come into this podcast before the live stream and I would talk about the biggest problem that I had, I would say that it was probably the overpowered nature of the SMGs, or most of them. I thought were pretty strong. The MX9 obviously way too strong, but the LMG is way too weak. But other than that, man, I'm having a really good time with this thing, and I honestly, like, I know Assassin said I'd get killed if I said this, but I honestly think this is, like, one of my favorite Call of Duties of all time, from what I've played so far.
I think a lot of YouTubers, at least I've seen, I mean, they could just be stupid. I don't know, but, you know, a lot of people are hating it. I just don't get it. Maybe, you know, because I feel like Call of Duty people don't know what they want until, you know, they get something. Like, they want something new, so they got thrust jumping. They hated that. And then, you know, we get World War II, and it's like, oh, this is a terrible game. But we want something new, so then we get something new again. Oh, no, worst thing ever. Let's get something new again. No, let's go back to what we've had before.
Right.
Next year, if Modern Warfare 4 actually comes out, and it's strictly like Modern Warfare 2 or 3 or whatever, or Ghosts, it's going to be the worst game ever. They never did anything new, so then they'll want something new again.
Right.
Well,
I
think
they just don't know what they want.
I think the problem is that a lot of people that are in the older camp that are Call of Duty players like the original Infinity Ward. And then you have those that like the original Treyarch games. And then you got those, like in my daughter's generation, that like Advanced Warfare and the Jumpin'. So the whole community is split. I've talked to some Infinity Ward devs personally from the original studio, and they were not fans of the Treyarch games. So, I mean, everybody has different tastes for what they imagine in a war scenario, and it's kind of like why I think Activision is doing the multiple genres, you know, to try and get everybody a little bit of something that they like.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to have some generational gaps that don't like one Call of Duty, but they'll like the next one, and vice versa.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's like a subset. I mean, maybe there's a very small subset of Call of Duty players that like don't really care about the genre, don't really care about the setting. They'll just play it and take it at face value. But I think I think you're right. I think you're onto something there, Clowns, because I think a lot of I think that's the encouragement they're getting from Activision, is to kind of like keep these divergent paths, because you could very easily, I mean, of course it would be blasphemous to think that Sledgehammer can make, like, you know, is this Sledgehammer next, or is it Infinity
Ward?
Okay, so Infinity Ward, right? I think, you know, people would be like, oh, it's blasphemous if they made like Black Ops 5. You know what I mean? But, you know, if Activision, I feel like, just said the word, I feel like, you know, it would have to happen. Like, I think Activision has such a stranglehold on these games now. You know, like, you know, back in the day, like Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, like what Clown said, had their individual personalities, had their individual feels, had really their direction on the game, and it just got published, and that was that. Now I think Activision has enough of a stranglehold to say to them, like, listen, like, you have to stay on your divergent paths. Like, we can't just be putting out the same game year after year, because we've got Call of Duty people that will, just stay on there's a ton of Call of Duty people that are just going to stay on World War II after this. Like, I've already heard that from a ton of people. The same YouTubers that hate this are just saying, okay, well, World War II is the game we wanted, so we're just going to stay on that.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then you got some that want World at War. Like, they won't play World, like, they'll, instead of playing World War II, they'll go back to World at War. Yeah.
And that's why all the Call of Duty games are backwards compatible on Xbox. That's why they made a push for that.
Not all.
Or pretty much all. Modern Warfare 2, right? No, Modern Warfare 2 isn't it?
No, Modern Warfare 2
that's
is
the only
not.
one? That's the only one?
Supposedly that is coming out next year with Infinity Ward's game, is like they did with CoD 4.
Right.
It's all rumors.
Yeah, so Assassin, what were you gonna say before that, or you had something to say?
I don't remember.
He doesn't even remember. Shucks. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it on Black Ops. We've been talking about that for a little while. We'll probably talk about it again next week. We'll see the changes, new game modes, all that stuff. But I'm pretty encouraged. I think I think we're having fun with it. I went back to play World War II a couple of nights ago just for a couple rounds, and I was like, dude, I can't. I'd so much rather play Black Ops.
I'm sorry too.
Yeah, Black Ops 3 and 4. I'd rather play either of those games than World War II. And yet you've got people saying World War II is like the best game call out of this gen, and I even thought that because I like a lot of the aspects of World War II. I just think that Black Ops does the variety so much better. I think there's so much more variety in the Black Ops games that change the, like, I like some shooters where you can just change the scope of the battle, like in the drop of a hat. I don't know. Anyway, that's the COD beta. Play it this weekend if you pre-ordered it. You may have your code already, you may not. Assassin, you said that if you digitally pre-ordered, you can preload already on Xbox, right?
Yeah, preloads are up for digital. Same thing with PC. If somehow you can get your hands on the launcher of Black Ops 4 and you don't have a beta code, you can pre-download the open beta on PC.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And then on PS4, there was an update.
Right. Yeah, I don't have my code yet for Xbox, so I don't know when people are going to be getting that, but look out for that because that is going to be going on all weekend, and it should be nice to see the difference between the PS4 and Xbox, right? But I mean,
especially performance-wise between the PS4, the base PS4 and base Xbox.
Oh yeah, I have a feeling the base Xbox is gonna be very crippled on this, but I'd be willing to give it a try. I think oh no, I don't have a base Xbox anymore. I don't have a base Xbox One anymore. I have a 1S, but not a base Xbox. Okay. Let's get to this just really quick. So, last week we talked about BF1, and it got a Xbox One X update, 4K 60 HDR. We talked about it being better late than never. Got into that a little bit, how gorgeous it looked, and the game does look great. Graphics are excellent. And Assassin was talking about some rubber banding that was going on, and I said, it was going on a little bit for me, but not too crazy. And now it looks like that Digital Foundry did a little bit of an analysis on this, and of course they're the ones to do it because they've got all the technical tools to really dive deep into what's going on with the performance, and they found out that it was Xbox Party Chat that was causing a lot of the problems, and you get dips into, very low frame rates and definitely sub 60, closer to like a stable 40 than a stable 60 if you want to talk about stable frame rates. But it wasn't really stable, to be honest, and people were getting kind of upset, and the reason why I wasn't experiencing the issues from last week is because I was playing outside of Party Chat, And if you want to do this test yourself, you have Battlefield 1, you have an Xbox One X, like, go do it yourself. Go play while in party chat. You could not even be speaking. You could just go in by yourself, nobody in party, and you'll have problems. And if you're just by yourself playing, you'll be okay. And so, just kind of a quick update on this. They've addressed this. They said, we've identified the cause of the recent BF1 party chat issue and are working on a fix to be folded into their next update. So once the fix is approved, we'll share rollout dates with you. So looks like a fix is coming. I wish they could just patch it in, instantly. If they get that fix going, but of course they have to, submit it for testing and approval and all that. So, you guys have anything to say about this real quick?
Oh my god, so I was playing Battlefield 1. If no one knows about this, if you're being Battlefield 5, you have Battlefield 1. They have a road to Battlefield 5, which is, if you get like enough XP, you can unlock things for Battlefield 1. And certain weeks, you can unlock things for Battlefield 5, like just, skins and for your guns and stuff. So I've been doing that. And I played a few matches yesterday. One was on, it was in the first DLC. I forget what it was called. But, like, if I saw someone, my game would freeze. If I was, like, all the way in our spawn, because I was playing Frontlines, like, all the way at our base spawn, or the MCOMs, where the game would, like, run at, like, 40, frames. Like, I'm just throwing out a number there. I'm not, 100% sure.
No, I mean, you say that, but that's kind of, like, what Digital Foundry came to in their conclusion as well. So, I mean, obviously, like, you can't just look at something and point out whether it's like 42 or 43 frames or 50 frames or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were kind of spot on there even last week. So keep going.
Yeah. So, and I've recorded a few things. Like, I don't know if Xbox recording is at 60 or 30. So it didn't seem like it picked it up so well. But there's times, like the clip I put on Twitter where I was running, just reviving people. Like, I was trying to just look at the ground and not even, like, pay attention to anyone, just to see if maybe if I just look at the ground, I'd get, better FPS, because, not looking at much, just, like I said, good the grass and some dirt. And it would be so bad. It would be freezing, like, even lower than 40 frames per second. It was just awful. Yeah. And if someone would send you a message or party invite or game invite, the game, like, you'd be stuck there. You go out, God forbid, if you hit the Xbox button and go to the home screen for like a few seconds, or even just hit start, you're out of the match for like 30 seconds, just trying to get, to the start menu or back out of it. It was so bad, and I didn't think that they would have fixed it, because they put all, like I said, I think before, like, they put all their resources to Battlefield 5, and they're not going to update Battlefield 1 again.
Right, and I know Clowns is kind of AFK right now, but you guys were talking about playing together, and I remember you were talking about the frame rate, and Clowns was like, forget the frame rate, there's no one playing this shit. Like, the servers, a lot of the servers are just dead.
Yeah, what was it? I went to the server browser, which is kind of awful. They need to fix that if they're running Battlefield 5. I didn't select any modes. I just, I didn't select how many people. I just select, the server region, which was North America. And there was like 7 servers. 5 of those were in operations, which were full, and then 2 of those were in TDM, but no one else was playing anything else. Mm-hmm. And Collins was in my our lobby. And I go into an operations that had, a bunch of people, missing, and it didn't even pull them in. Like, some of these things, like, they need to get their shit together. Like, I understand Battlefield 1's done. They're not going to fix that. But Battlefield 5 comes out, like, they need to get the server browser fixed.
Yeah.
When I was playing yesterday, trying to find Frontlines, because I love that mode, I'm glad it's coming to Battlefield 5. When I picked 1 to 5 free slots, nothing picked up. I go to this, empty out all the slots, and there's 2 servers full. One of them was missing a person, and that never showed up into 1 to 5 slots. Like, they need to get it fixed. It was like that on Battlefield 4 and I believe Hardline.
Yeah, and they did so much work to kind of revamp the user interface of the Battlefield games to kind of make them unified and be able to switch back and forth really readily and all that. And it sounded all well and good, but you know, you probably should fix the kind of base things that go into playing your game first, you know, and especially this party chat thing. Like, this has been an issue before now. You know, just because Digital Foundry outed them and they responded doesn't mean, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, but just to reiterate, this has been an issue for maybe this, you know, part of the entire existence of this game. For more or less, you know, it depends on kind of your connection. There's a lot of variables, and you know, granted, some people see it more than others, and I wonder if that's why the player counts are down on Xbox. And you know, obviously Xbox One X now has the best looking version of the game, and Xbox was the, you know, the console partner of this game. You know, it was a third party partnership. What do you call it? They had the marketing rights. They had the marketing rights for Battlefield 1, and you know, you think that, you know, that would be, you know, the place to play, if you will. And I wonder, you know, I go on PC, and the servers are fairly populated on PC, especially in my region.
That must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of games to get into, and you know, I know a lot of people did like Battlefield 1. I loved Battlefield 1. I thought Battlefield 1 was one of the best games, if not the best Battlefield game, in terms of the guns, gunplay, setting, graphics, all that. But if you can't even play the game smoothly like you're supposed to, you know, that's a problem. And you know, it sucks to think that over the entire course of this generation, the Xbox dashboard, or you know, not, I mean, obviously party isn't necessarily just the dashboard, but you know, Xbox back-end services have led to, on the console level, I should say, not just like back-end on the servers, but back-end on the console, like the dashboard, the interface, the OS, all that. It sucks to think that is hindering games still. When they've made so many revisions, they've taken things out, like you know, like the Kinect's functionality, the snapping of like Twitch and stuff like that. They've taken all that stuff out to increase the performance of games, and you're still having issues like this. It's crazy to think that, you know, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But anyway, so yeah, that's the Battlefield news. So that's that. Okay, we have 3 more topics. Yep. Oh, Clowns is here. Clowns is back. So let's get into a topic that he wants to definitely talk about really quick. Because I think this is an important thing. I think this is something that people, you know, not everyone necessarily gets into as much anymore. Like, I feel like the emulator scene goes up and down and up and down. I feel like it's kind of going back up. You know, it was down for a little bit, and now it's kind of going back up because people are getting into retro consoles again. You got the Retron 5. You've got, you know, nice emulators on TV boxes like the NVIDIA Shield, and you know, I mean, there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of going back into the retro gaming scene. You got stores like GameStop selling retro stuff again. Accepting trades on retro stuff. You're seeing kind of like a little bit of a resurgence, and now Nintendo is cracking down on some of these emulator sites that distribute ROMs illegally. But Clowns, I know you kind of brought this up, so you want to kind of introduce this thing?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of developers talking about this on Twitter, because even developers are upset about this. Now, yes, ROMs are a gray area according to law. Like in some countries with DMCA, it may be a violation. In other countries, you're allowed to back up your stuff. And I think in the US now, under the DMCA, I think you're allowed one archived copy of certain types of media. I'm not sure if games are included in that. But I know that they still have let's say DVD duplicators on the PC, so it might be allowed in the US one archive copy. However, Nintendo's really going hard after these ROM sites and taking them down, citing copyright violations, sending them threatening letters with their big boy attorneys. And the ironic thing about this is that here we have Nintendo with the Switch, the ultimate handheld console that has so much potential, and everybody who was into virtual console and, you know, old games was excited about this because essentially the thought was you could play VC games on the go with the Switch. Well, Nintendo axed that idea and instead are focused on their mini consoles and their mini classics. And we have no clue what kind of level or environment Nintendo is going to allot the Switch to have, you know, older games like NES games or Super NES games. So these sites out there, they archived all these NES, Super NES, etc. games. And a lot of these games are not just like, let's say, Nintendo first-party games, but they're games that are out of print. They're games that are extinct. They're games where developers closed up shop, no longer in the industry, publishers have gone bankrupt, etc., etc. So there is some validity to keep certain ROMs out there, but Nintendo's like, nope, we got to shut them all down, boys, because we want to make lots of money on these mini consoles that have 20 games, even though these ROM sites have millions of games. Our 20 games are priority, guys. Let's shut these sites down, and that's how they're making their money, and they're stealing the profits from us, so we need to take them out. And it's just, I mean, it's just sickening. It's because it's not all Nintendo stuff that's out there. There's other companies that don't even care because the games are so old, like 20, 30, maybe even 40 years old, some of them. I don't know, but it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's sickening, and it's gonna hurt the future of archives. I mean, even archive.org, the Wayback Machine, they have a section for ROMs. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but they have a ROM section where they allow you to download and preview like gigabytes and gigabytes of ROMs through their own torrent system. And that's probably in jeopardy now too. Right.
And, you know, like you said, kind of at the beginning of your intro on this, I think the emu emulator scene is very controversial because of what you said about being allowed one copy, and you know, if you own the game, you can copy it, but if not, you know, obviously that's kind of shunned upon. But Emu Paradise is one such site that was pretty big, that was kind of forced into changing the whole way that they do their activity. And the creator of that site put out a long, kind of heartfelt message on how he, you know, worked 18 years to build the site, and you know, it was predicated on providing emulators and providing ROMs, and you know, letting you, you know, check out games that you've never been able to check out, and or maybe, you know, download games you already own or whatever. And you know, there was a gray area there, and Nintendo never, you know, these companies didn't want to deal with like frivolous sites here and there. You know, it's like Nintendo didn't want to come after them, Sony didn't want to come after them. It's like, okay, we're still selling stuff, so whatever. You know, Sega, that's a different story, because you can argue that the Sega Dreamcast, that great system, died because of piracy. You can argue that, and that is a very fair argument, because piracy was rampant on that thing. It was easy to soft mod it, quote unquote, disc mod, swap mod, all that kind of stuff, and the protections just weren't there to prevent that kind of thing. And you know, it can hurt the industry, but a lot of these people are not you know, are not putting out emulators and putting out ROMs to necessarily let you just download the entire catalog of the NES. You know what I mean? It's not for that. Like, if you go to this website, gamehistory.org, it's a nonprofit that's this guy is essentially like scanning in the boxes. He scans in all the like pamphlets that used to come with the games, the manuals, all that stuff. He scans it in, backs it up, and he backs up the games too. And people are arguing that by Nintendo coming after these people, you know, you're hurting stuff like that. Like, video game preservation is going to be potentially very hampered on this. And I understand, like you said, Clowns. I mean, Nintendo is pissed because their bottom line's getting hurt because now they're releasing, NES Classic, SNES Classic, probably an N64 Classic, GameCube Classic, whatever. Like they're just looking at their bottom line, and now it's advantageous for them to come after these things because, like I said, emulation is back on the rise. Like people are releasing. I don't know if you've seen this, Clowns, which you probably have. Assassin, you probably haven't seen this, but I was watching a video the other day about an SNES cartridge that has an SD card slot that you can put in an original Super Nintendo and play ROMs. Like, I didn't even think that was, like, possible in a system that old. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen it on the 3DS, I've seen it on all the other, like, these other things, but the SNES, I never thought that you could do that.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because Nintendo in Japan actually used to have kiosks where you could bring, like, let's say, like a blank Nintendo cartridge, right? Put it in the kiosk, and you pay to download the games that you want on a specific cartridge, and it could hold so many, but you paid them the fees to download the game, so it was officially licensed,
right.
If you know what I mean.
Right.
And it's just, it's kind of like Nintendo's early idea, but it's just strange, man, how Nintendo's going about this. And there's been accusations, even in the underground community, that Nintendo's been using hacked ROMs or swipe ROMs that people put on the internet, and Nintendo's using them because they own the technical IP, and they're just taking other people's copies and throwing it in their products. So, I mean, that's an iffy thing, and it's going to be hard to prove, but there's accusations out there on that. And then there's even old stuff that have been found, like I think in Animal Crossing on GameCube, I want to say. People found like a Nintendo emulator inside the Animal Crossing that allows you to play emulated games.
Right.
So people at Nintendo have been using emulation themselves, so don't let them kid you that it's, super evil. All the stuff that they do is emulated. They just officially own the IPs behind it. And I hate to say this, man, but I don't think, like Balloon Fighter and Ice Climber are going to hurt Nintendo's bottom line profits. I mean, those games have come and gone. And I mean, guys like Assassin aren't out on the internet and be like, all right, I'm going to download 10,000 copies of Ice Climber, and that's going to hurt their bottom line by 5 times, 10,000 times, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, grow up a little bit.
Yeah. And people aren't necessarily buying the NES Classic or Super Nintendo Classic to, like, play these games for the first time or to, like, play these games and play them to completion and be like, wow, this is, there's no other way to get this. I have to buy this SNES Classic. Like, I bet you, if I were to bet, I would say at least 50%, if not more, the people who buy the SNES Classic and NES Classic know that emulators exist and know how to use them. Like, you can download them on Android or iPhone if you jailbroken. Like, these things exist. Like, people know that these things exist. I don't know where Nintendo just, like, thinks that, people having emulators is hurting the NES and SNES Classic sales, because they're not buying it to play they're buying it for nostalgia. Like, they may be better off, like, just letting the emulators continue, having them pay like a royalty, and just selling like the SNES and NES like housing, and letting people just load their emulators. Like, people aren't going.
That's
right.
Not a bad idea. That's actually an excellent idea. Nintendo could have made a partnership with like Emmy Paradise, right? And you hook up your classic to the internet, and you pay a fee to Nintendo. They pay like a small portion to keep the host on Emmy Paradise, and you can download the ROM. I mean, it's not even that big of a deal.
It's ridiculous.
It just hurts the whole community as a whole. And Nintendo's biggest threat would be those like things that you see at Target or Walgreens or CVS that say like 200 arcade games, and they are a bad knockoff of like a Game Boy or like a Super NES controller with a screen. And they're like hacked versions of games that are legal in countries like China, and then they ship them here, and they're just renamed or the artwork's redone, and I mean, stores selling without even realizing half the time. But those are Nintendo's biggest threats, not Emmy Paradise.
Right. Right. I would ask Assassin how he feels on this, but I know for a fact he has absolutely no thoughts because he couldn't give two shits about retro games.
Well, all I'm gonna say is, it just seems like they're just shutting down these sites. So in the future, when they ever decide to release these games, they can make a quick buck.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all I have to say about it.
Yep. And notice that, I mean, we've alluded to it and kind of potentially like even said this already, but whatever, I'll go for it and say, like, notice Nintendo didn't really give two shits about this to the point that they are now before this NES and SNES Classic thing was a thing. Like, they didn't give two fucking shits. And part of that is because emulation was a little bit on the downswing, and part of that was because, they didn't have, consoles that they're selling like friggin' hotcakes. Like NES Classic was like one of the top SKUs, if not the top selling hardware SKU of 2018. Or the SNES Classic, one of the two. It's Jesus, man. Real quick, let me go to the chat. Jack Bills wants to know what time does the beta come out and how many hours. It's coming out later tonight at some point. And in terms of hours, it's supposed to be coming out officially, quote unquote, at 10 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. But that's bullshit. It's gonna launch early. And it lasts until Monday, I think. All right, let me go to like some on-topic comments here. Dad says can't condone emulators, but he sort of does. Thing is, we have tools, and anyone who knows their shit will use them. Yep, exactly. And yeah, ROM sets are really small. Like, you can download the entire category of some of these systems and catalog. I should say, not category, catalog, and you can just get them all. But I don't think a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. But who knows? But let me see what do we have next here. If anyone's in the actually I missed some comments because I'm not scrolling down like a doofus. Sick Figure says felt bad for using Pirate Bay to download Better Call Saul, but it's kind of ironic. I guess that's a little ironic. Daz says I have all these sites that you speak of bookmarked.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
this is one of those people that downloads the whole ROM set.
Even with the down end of Emmy Paradise, it's not going to stop those smaller sites out there that that's off Nintendo's radar.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure Daz has like bookmarks of hundreds of thousands of things already, not just ROM sites, but many other things. But yeah, so Daz, slide into the DMs one day, man. Slide into the DMs.
Yeah, dude. Nintendo's not going to get everyone. And that's the thing that sucks about Emu Paradise is that, obviously that site was, distributing ROMs. So I'm not going to like say that they were, a saint necessarily. And who knows if their practices were, who knows if they dumped them all from carts they owned or if they got them from somewhere else or whatever. I'm not going to call into question their character because I don't really know. I've been there a few times. I've checked it out. It's been around for a long time. And it sucks that, people that have built up a good following and a good reputation like that with the community has fallen because it's one of the easy ones that Nintendo can go after. And I was showing this a little bit earlier, but with the first comment alludes to what Clown said earlier. The first comment on that post says, now where is Nintendo going to download their ROMs for their retro consoles?
Wow.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's a real accusation from the community.
Yep.
It just questions Nintendo's own ethics.
Yep. They don't care because they're making $50, $60, even more in some cases, $80 for the SNES Classic. They're making good money on this stuff, and that's all they care about, essentially. But if they wanted to make a royalty on ROMs, they could definitely do that. And they could have made way more money by doing that. And people aren't going on. I mean, there's no virtual console on the Switch, which is what you said, a huge missed opportunity. So they're not getting it in that way. They're kind of like forcing people to buy these NES and NES classics. Like they're just forcing people to buy the classic versions because they know that the games on those things would probably be the top sellers if they did have virtual console back. But anyway, here's something that I know Assassin really liked, and I can't believe it took us an hour to get to this topic, but nonetheless, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a gameplay video trailer today, and I know Assassin was one hand on the mouse, one hand on the computer mouse, one hand on the flesh mouse, if you know what I mean, after watching this thing.
No, not really.
Really? Okay, well, I guess these guys didn't like it. We'll get Clown's opinion on it first then. Clown's, you think it's trash?
Well, it upsets me, to be honest with you, because I don't like prequels. And not only that, but we're not playing as John Marston, so it's a prequel done wrong. I mean, there was more potential going to John Marston, but now they want to make us like this Arthur guy. I mean, I can't like an outlaw named Arthur. It's just not an outlaw name. I never heard of an outlaw named Arthur. If there was one, it probably got shot immediately because the name's not an outlaw name. I just can't picture it, man. Like, I think some of the stuff in the game is cool. I think the consequences are cool. I think the choices you can make are neat. Just take away the Old West and put in, like, organized crime, be so much better. And, I know Assassin gave me some grief about this, but I was like, well, they could have made a prequel, and he's like, no, didn't you see the end of Red Dead 1? And yeah, but I mean, like, there could be time in between, kind of like what Black Ops 4 did, It's like a prequel to the sequel kind of thing, so why not just make it after Red Dead 1, follow John Marston, but before he dies, pretty much. I mean, that would have been so much better.
Spoiler. Saying off.
Yeah, huge spoiler there.
Stupid. And they're off.
Well, if you haven't played Red Dead by now, then you obviously have no interest, and you could care less about the spoilers.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. Fair point.
Yeah, but what if there's PC players, because it's not on PC, that if Red Dead 2 ever comes to PC, they won't be able to play Red Dead 1. I guess, you could use PS Now, but,
maybe those are the ones using emulators and are sad about Amy Paradise shutting down.
Probably. But, yeah, Assassin, you said you didn't like it either, so why? I mean, Clowns has those reasons. I think your reasons are completely different. Why didn't you, why didn't you like it?
I feel like a lot of what they said, not more of like the home base stuff, or you have to get your morale up and find things, but like, the hunting and putting that on your horse and trading and earning money, your choices have consequences, or can help you out, and all this other things. Like, I don't know, with a studio that is Rockstar, or any other studio that is really good, I just feel like I expected that from a great studio. Like, I wouldn't expect that from an Ubisoft game.
Wait, so essentially you're penalizing. You're penalizing Rockstar then for giving you something that you essentially expected, even though it's cool.
Yeah, well, see, I'm not saying this is a negative. I'm just like, I saw this trailer. I'm like, I'm gonna see something really cool, like never seen before. But we've seen this. I'm like, that's cool, but like, I kind of expected that type of thing.
Yeah. I think that's that's actually a popular sentiment. I think a lot of people were expecting something like absolutely revolutionary, and this trailer didn't give it to them, other than the graphics and the animations and stuff. Like, those were obviously mind-blowingly good, but I mean, other than that,
well, I just want to say real quick before I forget, I want to touch up on what Assassin said. The hunting thing. Like, in Red Dead 1, I got bored of hunting and then carving pelts and whatnot. I found that boring after a while. And I think it's going to get repetitive in this one, too. So I really wish they would have left the hunting out. I would rather have just been more like GTA, just like, gun and run,
Yeah,
rob
but in
stuff.
GTA, you're not like there was a hunting like side quest, but in GTA, you're not going to shoot a bunch of deer and then raise the morale of Trevor. Like that makes no sense. Like in the Wild West, you kind of had a hunt, or you're going to starve. Like I think while it's not a huge part of the game, I mean it makes sense to have it.
But see, in my mind, like if you're a criminal, right, and your interest is making money, so maybe you'll hunt like rare animals and sell them, but you're gonna spend all day hunting when you can be out there like robbing stuff, taking
Well,
train
yeah, I
cars.
mean,
No,
it's
you're gonna
not
be
like part. It's part of the game, but
you're
it's
gonna
not
be
like you're gonna be playing Cabela's Deer Hunting 2005 or whatever. Like this
well,
is a thing you can do.
the fact that it would take up inventory too. If it does take up inventory, it's gonna annoy the shit out of me. As an outlaw, I'd rather just go around robbing people and take their food.
Yeah,
Well, you can do that.
honestly, like I'm kind of on Clown's side on this, but only because I think this is only the first of a couple gameplay things that we're gonna get, and they haven't really shown off everything. But I think to have the focus on the first gameplay trailer be a lot of the hunting, because how much did you see of him like shooting, hunting, like trailing animals in this trailer? Like the trailer was like 6 minutes long or something, and it was narrated, and I feel like a better part of that trailer was about the hunting aspects. And not that I don't want to do that, because I think it is cool, and I think it's evolved since the first game quite a bit to the point where like I am interested in it. I feel like I could see where people are saying, oh well, great, like let's see some real like Desperado kind of shit. I don't think you need to feature so much of like this guy Arthur carrying like an animal. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that was shown like so often, and like the animals was shown so often. I understand like the atmosphere is the Wild West, and there's a lot of hills, and there's lizards and bears, and all this other stuff. But it's like, okay, like show us some like real gunfights. Show us, like they said in the next gameplay trailer, for instance, they said, oh, the next one is going to have more information about missions. Like why couldn't that have been in the first one? Like I think that's way more important in this game than oh, we've totally revolutionized like the system of like carrying a deer to a local general shop to buy some pelts, like, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense, or am I just like maybe I'm taking it too far?
I get what you're saying. Like if they're gonna have like I forget if they even mentioned it, but how many gameplay videos?
Yeah, I don't think
the
that
game comes out.
I don't think they mentioned how many, but they said that they were gonna have multiple. So
yeah, so like let's just say there's 3, and they cut out hunting. Like if they're trying to tell you everything that you can do in the game, like I'd rather not have a 6-minute trailer of hunting. I feel like they got the boring one out first. Kind of the more obvious and boring stuff, like the hunting and like the areas you can explore and stuff. And then like the next one, we got like story missions. And I think like side stuff, like and what you can do with that. Maybe choices and kind of like what we saw with what is that game that's coming out next year? Dying Light, where they showed us, if you do something, this happens. Like I feel like we might see something like that, expanded on next video whenever that comes out.
That's an interesting take on it, because it's like, okay, the hype was high to see the gameplay. They could have showed like John Marston, well, not John Marston obviously, but they could have shown Arthur like taking a shit, and people would be like, "Oh wow, like look at the graphics, look at how good the gameplay is."
10 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh my god,
see
like
the flies.
Oh Jesus, like the foals in that shit is realistic. Like I know he ate like a lot of lettuce the night before. Like people would have been totally okay with that because it's the first gameplay trailer. I see your point on that, and that's actually not a terribly bad point. But at the same time, like you're the one who is just like, yeah, I expected that. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, like, so you were.
Oh yeah, and I feel like these trailers, like. I mean, we've watched. Well, I can't say it for Clowns or you, but like I'll watch. Depending on the game, I'll watch like all the trailers. Like, but we know everything that comes out like before even the trailer pretty much airs. So I feel like these trailers. I feel like are made for the people who are iffy on the game or don't even know about the game. They're not like for people like us
Yeah.
Who, like, because I already bought, pre-ordered the game and paid it off, like, so they could show, Arthur, like you said, taking a dump.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would still be buying the game.
Right.
I could cancel it. So.
King Arthur the Outlaw.
King Arthur the Outlaw, leading his desperados into the outpost to take a firm, steamy shit that has 4K Steam textures coming off of the poo at night. Like, they could have shown that, and people would be like, "Oh my god, like, can you see the steam on that turd?" You know what I mean? Like, but if they had shown that in the second trailer, and the first trailer was like so action packed, like, people are fickle these days. Look at like Titanfall 2, right? Everyone was excited for that. The beta comes out and they're like, "Oh my god, this is terrible," blah, blah, blah. And like, people didn't buy the game. The game ended up being like one of the best first-person shooters, especially the story, like, I've ever played. People are fickle these days, so you have to like really calculate how you release these things, you know.
Yeah.
But people, I mean, it is a Rockstar game. You know, there's this illusion of infallible companies like Blizzard, Rockstar, in the sports sense, 2K a little bit, with people that are fanatical about NBA 2K. You know, there are a Take-Two, or whatever you want to call them. You know, that there's this thing about infallible companies, and I think not a lot of people would criticize Rockstar for anything. You know, so it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe they're safer with doing stuff like this than if this were like Dying Light, for example. You know,
yeah.
Even though Dying Light 1 was a huge success and people really enjoyed it, you know, obviously with Titanfall 1, same thing as with Titanfall 2. People really enjoyed Titanfall 1. And Titanfall 2 was, you know, for all intents and purposes, a flop. But, you know, Red Dead Redemption 1 was like transcendent. Rockstar has done such good stuff. And now people are just looking at the graphics and ignoring the content and just saying like, "Oh, finally Rockstar's putting out like a truly next gen product," you know. But
Yep.
all right, but anyway, that's enough about that. We'll get into that a little bit more when more information comes out. Probably the next gameplay trailer, we'll talk about that a little bit more, maybe more in depth than we just did. But in the interest of time, we'll be done with that topic, and we'll move on to the final topic, which is this PlayStation 4 that just got announced by Sony. I mean, they've sold over 500 million Sony PlayStation products. So PSVR included, PS1, 2, 3, 4, VR, I already said, PS TV, Vita, PSP, like, you know, the list goes on and on about PlayStation products. I'm not sure if they're including like PlayStation phones that they briefly did for like a year or so. I'm not sure if they're including that, but probably not. But anyway, have you guys seen this PlayStation? I mean, this thing is fucking gorgeous, man. $500 gets you this special edition PlayStation that they're only putting out 50,000 of them. You can pre-order them, I think, starting in a couple weeks. You can pre-order this thing. Like I said, $500 US, and you know, it's a beautiful translucent blue PlayStation console. It comes with a matching controller, a matching camera. There's also a headset that you can buy, like the platinum headset or whatever, a gold headset you can buy that matches the color scheme. It comes with a 2 terabyte internal hard drive instead of a 1 terabyte. So yeah, what did you guys think of this? Did you guys check this out?
I checked it out. For a while, I didn't know, like, you can see like pretty much inside the the console itself. So I thought it looked pretty ugly. I still kind of think it looks ugly, but I think it's the best looking console they've put out in a very, 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 very long time. But I think that price is a little steep.
Well, no,
$500 should. I don't know. You get like a 2 terabyte hard drive and whatnot, but like I don't know. Like, I feel like the Pro should already have had a price drop at this point, and at the most it should have been probably like $450.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's I mean, fair enough, because the Pro, I mean, you can get it on deals here and there, but it hasn't seen like an official price drop down to $350 like people would expect at this point. And the reason for that is because it's still selling. I mean, PlayStation consoles still sell really well, but nonetheless, yeah, a lot of people figure that the PlayStation Pro PS4 Pro should have dropped in price by now, and it hasn't. But I mean, this is, like you said, and you admit to, it comes with the PlayStation camera. Oh, well, you didn't say the camera, but it comes with the PlayStation camera. Comes with a 2 terabyte hard drive instead of 1, so you're doubling the capacity. And it is, 1 out of 50,000, so there is value to that in terms of collectability. So honestly, I'm not too upset with the price. $450, it would have been an absolute 100% go. Especially for me, it would have been a go. I would have definitely traded in my system and gotten this one. Right now, I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not I want to do that. I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and she's kind of like, yeah, do it, which really surprises me. But, I think that there's going to be a lot more people on the fence on this, but there are only 50,000, so those are going to go quick. Clowns, did you
and what's
check
the
this out?
retail price of this again? Yeah, I've seen it.
$499.
500, yeah. Yep. And did you see Assassin?
Wow.
Did you see Assassin that or Clowns too? Did you guys see that when you turn the system on, the light illuminates like all the internals, so you can see like the processor and all that stuff?
I saw like a screenshot of it. I think it was a pretty bad screenshot of, with a bad angle and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought that was pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
wish we would get like something like that for like Xbox or like another PS4 that you see with PCs that just they light up.
Yeah, and you know what? Like something you said earlier is a good point. Why I think this is gonna sell as well is that, for all intents and purposes, PlayStation Pro or PlayStation 4 limited editions or custom consoles in general have been absolute shit overall. Like, I mean that one that you have, I guess, is the best one, the God of War one, and the Spider-Man one I think is pretty bland. I mean, the Battlefront 2 was it Battlefront 2 or Battlefront 1? It was Battlefront 2, wasn't it? The special edition.
They both were pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think that was that great.
Vader on it.
Yeah.
And then the other one had the Rebel and Imperial symbols.
Yeah. I don't think those ones were that great. I mean, they were okay, The Spider-Man one, I think, is too bland. I think they could have, like we've talked about before, done better. But this one, I'm not including the gray 20th anniversary edition one either. That one's pretty nice. But this one, I think, is by far the best. Like, this one, like when a special edition console comes out and you, like, consider trading in your system just to get the special edition one, and there's really no good reason for it other than having that special edition one. Like, I've never been compelled to do that on a PlayStation until now. And, it's been 4 years.
I know, not to interrupt, but
no,
I know you
ahead.
said there was like 50,000 of them. Are they all numbered, or are they just like here's the?
So I'm pretty sure they're all numbered. Let me check that really quick.
That just adds some value to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, the see-through controller is nice too. The controller is going to be sold separately, by the way, $65 if you want to just buy the controller. And I don't think that one's limited.
What?
Yeah, $65 for the controller.
We've seen the Xbox controllers that were $65. So I mean, as much as that seems expensive, it's the new norm for special controllers.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, but I mean, so does this console come with a controller or no controller at all?
Yeah, it does. It comes with the translucent controller. Yep. Controller, camera, the little earbud thing that is actually skinned the same way, believe it or not, even though that's going to go like right in the trash.
Wow.
The system is numbered right on the bottom. If you're looking at the system, it's numbered on the bottom right on a gold plaque, and it's engraved. So the numbers are engraved out of a number out of 50 grand. So, it comes with a vertical stand as well, which is a blue translucent.
Oh, sign me up for 50 of them now.
Oh man, yeah. It looks good though. I think it's good looking. I think it is. Dad says you're not playing ball tonight with the link in the chat. That's because he's on his Xbox and on his computer, because his computer has been updating for like the past 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's at
Is it still updating?
27% on the second update.
Oh my god, yeah, this update started like well before the podcast, and now we're an hour and a half in, about to end the show, and it's still updating. So we had to funnel the Xbox Party chat into this one. I think this is honestly like either the first or second time ever that Assassin has not been on cam for the podcast.
Might have been first.
Yeah, I can't remember another time other than when we've done hangouts that you were not on cam.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there was one other time that you couldn't get your cam working. Like it was. It's not. I don't know. It was like a Skype issue, maybe. I don't remember.
The best one was the Sassy show. He definitely was on cam for that.
Oh my god.
The Clowns and Sassy show. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the clowns.
Yeah,
like,
except my mic was
option,
muted halfway through the show.
Yeah, I was just talking to myself. And I was like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, oh. It was for Division. That
Okay.
first came out or something.
Yeah.
Some people should make some memes from that if they can find the link.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah, so that's that PlayStation Special Edition console. I'm considering getting it, but I don't know. I need a new phone first.
It does look kind of cool, and it's 2 terabytes.
Yeah, the 2
If you
terabytes.
can get a good trade, if you can get a good trade on the Pro, then I'd say go for it. If you only spend like 100 more, 150 more, but anything more than that, it just feels kind of like a waste.
Dude, bonus topic right now. You can trade in at GameStop. You can trade in your PlayStation 4 Pro for $300 credit towards an Xbox One X.
I know it's a good deal for people that don't have the X yet. That's a fantastic deal.
Also, you can trade in. You can get $250 towards an X if you trade in an Xbox One S. I mean, that's an epic deal too. Like that's a lot of money for an Xbox One S.
Yeah, because some people only paid what, $250 for it, right?
If that, yeah, if that. Like you can trade in an Xbox One original, like not even the S, and get $200 credit. Like that's a steal. If you don't do that, you're a fool. If you're in the market for an X, of course, but. Anyway, all right, yeah, that's about it this week. We're anxiously awaiting the beta for Call of Duty, but we'll probably stream that if we get the access anytime soon. Although we'll probably stream it this weekend at some point. I know Assassin streamed it and was getting pretty pissed off. I watched the replay of that stream, Assassin, that you had of Black Ops 4, and oh my god, dude, were you raging hard that time?
Yeah, it's just some bullshit.
Get good. As this kid
I
Tommy
think
I
I
know
was
says.
going. I think I was going really positive, like almost every match.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still getting pissed off
That's
because
fun.
of the stupid little radar darts. Because he
Oh
has
my-
so much skill.
Oh my god, yeah, you were getting really pissed about that.
Yeah, it's just
Speaking
it's
of-
stupid.
Speaking of which, Daz, if you're in the chat still watching, I want to let you know I'll be starting a new petition to buff the MX9 and Black Ops 4. I need some help with that. We need a super buff on the MX9. Rapid fire and extended mags built in automatically.
Well, there you go. So that'll be
In other news, we don't need that garbage, but
wow, and of course he posts the link for the other
Thanks,
petition.
Daz.
Yeah.
You
bad
the man.
Daz, bad Daz.
You the man.
Bad. Go to the corner.
Go. All right, we will see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us for episode 178. Find us everywhere. Just look for 4GwQPodcast. You'll find us everywhere on Twitter. We have 4GwQPodcast. So definitely want to go follow us on there for info on when we're going live, because lately our podcast has been like all over the place in terms of time. But thank you guys for joining. If you're checking us out in the replay, definitely hit us up in the comments, hit us up on Twitter, and let us know especially what you thought of the Call of Duty beta, and especially what you think of the Red Dead Redemption stuff, because I think those two are the popular topics. But feel free to hit us up about any of the topics. If you're an emulator kind of person, hit us up about that too. What do you think Nintendo's been doing, and if you think it's bullshit or whatever. So let us know about that. And until next week, or maybe until this weekend when we stream, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.